What is up, Pain Pros? In today's live training, we are going to go through the pictures that I posted in the group. Let me share them over here. Oh, let me get that off so I don't spoil it right off the bat. Okay, I'm back here. Yeah, that's better. Here we go. Alrighty. So inside the group, I put these two pictures. This is a current client of mine. And I said, what do you see? And inside the group, I'll get back over here and stop sharing this guy. And then I will share inside the group here. Yes, here we go. All right, here's the post. What do you see? Yama, pelvis is not aligned. I wonder if this will open for me like this. Cool. Pelvis is not aligned. Left hip looks like it is back farther than the right. She's suggesting we raise the hands. Pelvis is not aligned. Left hip looks like it is farther back. Cindy, left hip lower than the right hip. You can see that up here. Upper back rounded, clearly. Would you cue her to back up with her feet to flatten the back? I wish it was that easy. I wish you could just tell her to take her feet back, and then that would leave room for the upper back to come back. But in this position, she is stretching back to the maximum. So we literally have her heels under her hips, the correct alignment here, as she extends back to the maximum, and we are seeing what we get. We are seeing her pattern there. So no, we could not just have her back up the feet. Square the hips, engage through the legs more. Well, actually, I mean, you can't say, but actually she's doing pretty good in the legs here. It's not like she's lazy in this pose. So this is really what we're working with. Suzanne, hips too far to the right. Arms need to come up if they're not able to step back further to get a straight line from the tailbone to the wrists. And Archana, her hips and pelvis are not aligned. Her shoulders are scrunched up too. Not sure if it's lack of shoulder mobility or due to the angle the picture was taken. It is definitely due to the lack of shoulder mobility. The picture, I'm always taking these pictures like straight from the side. And, you know, when you see these pictures, you've got to assume that I've got them basically in the best posture they're going to get with what we have here, right? So, yes, this is a tightness in the shoulders in a big way and in the back. Okay. So, I'm going to stop sharing here. Thank you guys for commenting. Appreciate you guys playing. And let's go back to, whoops, I need to share over here. Let's go back to this one and we'll get into it a little bit. First of all, let me just come back to this first one. You know, I think this is such a phenomenal example of a couple things. One is how crooked bodies are in general, how bodies are crooked. And another thing this is a great example of is if you did not have the room and the mat set up specifically to where when she has her hands where I tell her to have her hands, and then when she has her feet the same distance from the edges of the mat, which you can see, they're not exactly the same distance from the edges of the mat. But when you have the mat, when you have the setup and you get your client in a position like this, you can see what's going on. This literally reveals the pattern in a way you might never even notice it. In fact, if the sticky mat was not there, just not having the sticky mat there, even if her feet were basically in the same position, it's harder to see. So the setup really, really helps. And if you look at it, what I would say here, there's a lot that's crooked, first of all. So what I'm about to say isn't the way to look at it or isn't the way to say it, but the hips are to the right and the shoulders are to the left. And then we got a bunch of rotations and crooked stuff, but the hips are to the right and the shoulders are to the left. And look at the feet. I told her to have the feet the same distance from the edges of the mat. Of course, they should be parallel as well, right? But as you'll see, I did not keep her in this position because this is not a good position for her. This is not going to help her at all. So, I didn't do another couple rounds to get her feet right where they should, but I did tell her to have the feet the same distance from the edges of the mat and look where her feet are. They're off to the right. Why do you think they're off to the right? Well, because the hips are off to the right. The hips are pushing them off to the right. So it's really cool how you can see the pattern. This pose is amazing for evaluating. So from here, like Yama and Suzanne said, we raise the arms. We've taken the hands a little bit wider apart as well. But yeah, we are raising the arms here. And just raising the arms, look at the phenomenal difference. That's a good pose. Her spine is in a good position. Now her shoulders and her upper back are going to open. Here, they are not going to open. In fact, she just might crunch herself up here. Also, if you look at her knees here, this is pretty subtle, but the knees are straighter back as well in this pose here. She's able to press the knees back. Whenever people take the hands higher, not only does it alleviate this problem where the shoulders and or upper back are too high, but it also makes it easier to press the knees back. So that's all we needed to do here. And then I showed her some places in the studio. I actually had her walk forward and stand next to this window. And I took a picture of that for her so she could see where on her body that height is. Then we looked around the studio. I showed her a couple other places that she could easily have the hands that same height just to get her used to that process. So when she goes home, she will automatically figure that out quite easily. Look around, see different options for where she could have her hands that height. And this right here is a really, really good pose for her. So another thing I want to mention is that this issue where the hips are to the right and the shoulders are to the left, and the pelvis, yes, the right hip's higher, the left hip's lower, the right shoulder's higher, the left shoulder's lower. There's a lot of twists, rotations, and imbalances revealed in this picture. The main thing that you have to know is you don't have to fix all that. You just have to get from this bad position to this position. So we have a good, healthy line in the spine. And then we have to make sure that the midline of her feet is in line with the midline of the hands. So the feet are not off to the right or the left. And then if you were to stand behind her in this picture and look at her, you can see I got her feet better because we did a handful of repetitions here. The feet are the same distance from the edges of the mat. This right here looks like that right foot's back away from the wall a teeny bit more than this foot, but whatever. The feet are parallel. The feet are the same distance from the edge of the mat. If you were to stand behind her and look, you would see this basic same pattern: hips to the right, shoulders to the left, right side rotated higher, left side rotated more to the floor. But as long as you have this line, wrist, shoulders, and hips, and the spine is looking really good like this, and you have the midline of the feet lined up with the hands, when you tell them to extend back, repeated repetitions of extending back in this position will, over time, address these issues here. The hips to the right, all these crooked issues that we're seeing. So you don't have to fix all that stuff. It's really important to know. And as you get more experience, you figure out what to change and what to leave alone, because it's really important not to Overteach. We want to give people like this the absolute minimum so that they understand it, they get a good effect while they are in our studio, and they get a good result, right? And of course, as you know, I'm showing her these pictures. So she sees the first picture, she sees the second picture, boom. She visually understands the logic of what she can't feel in her body. But that makes a really, really big impression. Then we do that posture a few more times. We refine it. I get her extending back. Once we get everything good, then I can lean into it. We can say extend back more, take the hips back more, keeping the thighs firm, press the knees back, press the hips back a little bit more. She comes up, she's feeling a result. She knows how to find that same height at home. And now she's doing the posture on her own. So thank you for participating. Let me know below if you got some value from this, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next live training. Cheers.